Hello everyone, I'm Ceri Griffiths and I'm one of the designers and demonstrators working with Katy Sue Designs. Now this morning I just wanted to share with you a really easy, simple and impactful home decor project. So let's look at the finished project before I look at the elements you actually need to do this project, and then we'll get right into it and show you how easy and quick it is to make. So first of all, let's take a look at this. This is the home decor piece we're going to be making, or a version of, because every time you create something with your hands, of course, it's a bespoke item. It's something that no one else can actually make except yourself. So that's what we're going to aim for. So let's put that back on one side. There you go. Now let's look what we're doing in this. We're actually focusing on the Tangled flower hoops, which there's a set of 3 of them, and they come here all in one pack. And if you look at them, each of them will actually have a hanging hole. You can probably see that easier there. Each of them will have a hanging hole within it, and that would be where you would suspend it on a wall or suspend it on a wire or a loop maybe in front of a window or on a door, as you would a wreath. I'm referring to that now because we're actually going to ignore that when we actually come to construction. So for this one, we're going to use 2 of them, and we're only going to leave the small one apart. Now the small one I love. If I was doing a Christmas decor tutorial, this would be great for Christmas tree decoration. However, I have had the wonderful Jack Heath, and Jack Heath has done for me a wonderful card here. So you can see it does fit perfectly on a card. This is the same hoop. All I did is I went in with some acrylic paints and I actually just painted it white, and then I went in and I sponged some extra colour onto it. If I lift it up ever so slightly for you, you'll see I've just put some Flower Pro filler flowers on that one just to finish it off. So from here on in, we'll not be referring to the small one, but we would be using the Tangled flower hoop if I was using all 3 of them. Let's put that one to one side again. So what do I need for this project? I need 2 of the hoops. So that's Tangled flower hoop, and just for your information, there are other Tangled hoops out there that we manufacture in MDF, so just be aware it doesn't always have to be round. So those on one side. We're then going to need some roses. I've made 3 roses, and the roses I've made have been using the Flower Pro system with the hearty clay, the air drying clay. The only difference is when I made these, when you actually create with Flower Pro, we would normally thicken this stem up with further layers of wire. I haven't in this instance because I want to keep the bulk down when I'm doing this, because it is a wall hanging and it doesn't need that extra robust nature of a wire to give it substantial holding factors. We're going to be using hot glue anyway, so let's put those to one side. We're then going to be doing some ivy. Now all of these pieces are actually pre-made. And what I would say is, if you go to the website or you go to the YouTube channel, and in the description we'll have links for these, you will have a link in there for the individual products I've used from Flower Pro, also all of the supporting videos. It's all there for you guys. It's absolutely been done in perfect detail. It will support you. You can do these. These are really easy. The whole Flower Pro system has been designed so that it's simple to achieve beautiful florals using an air drying clay, and if you're working in sugar as well. So anyway, so we're using 2 of the variegated ivy leaves as well. I've made 2 sprays of rose leaves, and then on top of that I've just made myself a double-sided satin bow. I've chosen purple here because if you know your color theory, the complementary to yellow is purple, and if it's pale then you can go lilac, you can go darker, but I'm using a primary color complementary there. The other thing I'm using is in the MDF range we actually do have words as well. The 3 words I'll be referring to is the word love, believe and friend. Now I just want to show you these as an example. This is the MDF. Let's move that to one side so it's not distracting. This is the MDF as it will come in the pack, this color. I actually love this color. However, if I'm doing it on an MDF hoop, it could actually get lost. So this is what one would look like if I just use acrylic paint on it. Now, because MDF is porous, you're probably going to have to put 2 layers of acrylic paint on to get this whiteness, or you could use a primer spray and spray it white first of all. And then this one, all I did is I took an archival ink in green and I just stamped over the top just to give it a depth of color. Just experiment, but you could have put glitter on this, you could have done embossing powders. Just if you are embossing MDF, remember it's wood. Don't get your embossing gun too close to it because you can set fire to it. So just gentle sweeps over the top will make that doable for you. Another couple of things I need to use, I'm just using hot glue gun, can be any brand of hot glue gun. This just happens to be a cordless version I like to use for my demonstrations. Obviously hot glue, you can use high melt or low melt, doesn't matter at all. You could even use coloured if you wanted to, it's not going to be seen though guys. And then I'm going to use some floral tape or florist tape. This comes in different thicknesses. This is a half width, this is a full width. All I've done is just cut it down. To release the glue in floral tape or florist tape, you just need to give it a bit of a stretch and that releases the glue. You could use other tapes for this. I just think that as I've used the tape already for using on Flower Pro stuff, I'm also use the same product. And then another couple of handy little things would be a snip, because I want to cut wires, and I've got some big hands here guys. If I want to go in and manipulate anything, a set of small pointy pliers is actually what I would choose first of all. So let's get ourselves started here. Let's turn my glue gun on. Let's turn the glue gun on. There you go, warming up. Now let's take our two hoops. Now for this design I wanted them both to be attached at this one side here, so it made the entire design slightly offset. Now remember I referred to this hole in them. I did not want the hole to be at the top, because whenever you're creating a wall hanging and you're adding something to it, if you're adding it at the top or adding it at the bottom, it will hang perfectly. The moment you add something that has weight to one side, when you hang it, it may naturally want to correct itself. So by putting the two holes there, it gives me all of these options when I hang it, to hang it where the point of balance would be best. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to put some hot glue onto the back of this, just so I can secure both of them together. Mind your fingers guys, it's called hot glue for a reason. We don't want to burn ourselves. Now you could use some contact cement, you could use a silicone glue, you could use a gel glue, whatever you wanted to use there. I wouldn't however use a PVA glue, a white glue. There's too much water in it and the moisture could soak into the MDF, and if you put a lot on there it could swell. It's not going to be a problem, it's going to be covered up, but I just personally like the fact that the hot glue has got a really good bite. It's immediately stuck for me. If I was using a gel glue or a silicone glue, I'd have to let this dry before I actually work next. So my next stage is I'm going to take my two sprays of ivy and just play around and see where I want them to sit within this. So obviously I want a bit of a curving effect. Because these are on wires, I can bend them as any direction I want. Let's just tweak that and tweak that one around there. Now, when you normally put a flower spray together, so use these roses for example, if I was doing a spray of flowers, I would tape this stem together, but the trouble is I would end up with this stem. Where do I put it on here? So what I need to do is I need to be conscious with this. It's almost like matting and layer a paper card. You need to layer it up flat so I don't have too much bulk. So if I pick this up, I can now see where these overlap. So overlap there. I'm going to come in with a little bit of this florist tape and just wrap it round a few times just to secure it into position. I'm not going to go mad and put loads on there, but I'm just securing it a little bit. Stuck to my fingers. Now I'm going to bend the pieces out that are excess to it. I'm going to use my flower snips. I'm just going to remove those two little pieces because I want to keep the weight down as much as possible. But what I've done now is I've actually secured those so I have something that is a curved shape. Again, I'm going to come in with a little bit of hot glue, just a line of it. Need to reload the gun. A line of glue down. I don't want to put masses and masses of glue because hot glue actually does weigh considerably. So all the way along I'm being very considerate of the weight I'm adding to this. Now we do know air drying flowers are remarkably light, so we do have that as a benefit if the hot glue is actually getting a bit firmer. Now I'm going to take a piece of the wider tape, rip that off there, and I'm just going to wrap this around just to keep everything nice and secured together. Wrap that around there. It doesn't have to be overly neat. I'm trying to keep the bulk quite low. all I want to do is just make sure that everything is being nice and secure. It's not going to move around. Now, I don't mind if the ends of the ivy move around, and the reason for that is because when I come to hang this, I may want to manipulate these fronds of ivy and actually put them in different positions. So as you can see, I built that up, it's in place. Now, choose the smaller of the two roses if you have two smaller ones. So I take those. Now, I've made these complete. They're really lightweight. I made them on a wire, but I actually don't need the wire for this bit. Not all of it anyway. So I'm going to snip these just a little bit lower, probably about 1.5 to 2 inches long, just so that they're more workable. And then supporting it, I'm going to put my thumb in place and give them a little bit of a bend in the wire. And I'm doing that just so they can raise up a bit when I actually attach them to the flower wreath. Put those to one side. I'm going to come in now, and I've got my rose leaves. Got a bit of hot glue stuck on there. There you go. I'm going to come in with my rose leaves. Turn the glue on again. There you go. And I'm going to do the same as I did with the ivy. I'm going to overlap them to make sure I know where they're going to sit. So that looks about right to me. So again, come in with a small bit of tape just to secure those together, just so it means that I can come in a few seconds and hot glue those into place. There you go. Now, because this is air drying clay, I don't have the worry of it being sugar, therefore it's not as fragile, but I do need to treat it with some respect, because yes, it is air drying, yes, it is a fibrous product, so therefore you're going to be lightweight, but you can still snap it and you still break it, and over time as it fully dries, you could snap any smaller edges. So let's avoid that to start with, and let's show it a little bit of respect. So I'm going to come in now, and I'm going to once again snip away the excess bits of wire, trying to keep that weight down. So you can see I've actually now made this semicircle of rose leaves, which will sit within my arrangement. So remembering where that hanger was, that's the central point for this. I'm going to come in once again, and I'm going to add a bit more glue, just a little bit of glue in place, just to once again press it down for a second, let the glue do its job, and then I'm going to take another little bit of the florist tape. I'm using full width, I could use half width. I'm going to come in, I'm going to wrap this around one more time, just to make sure all the way along this is being secured. I would hate to put this on the wall and something happen and it fall off. The other joy of using hot glue and using florist tape is maybe a few months down the line I want to change this up. I could actually just peel that florist tape off again, and I could just peel the hot glue off the wires and off the back of the MDF, and it would all come across, and I could actually then recycle that and make it into an exciting new product. Maybe keep it seasonal, so when it becomes fall or autumn time I could put maple leaves in. Now in the Flower Pro range there are some beautiful maple leaf veiners out there. You could add those, maybe put a few pumpkins in it. When it came to Valentine's Day, maybe we could put some red roses into it. Comes to Christmas, you could use the Flower Pro poinsettia range and actually do a spray of poinsettias with some holly leaves in it. So very, very first time, the same technique can go across the board and be done with a lot of different products. So here we go, we've got the ring coming together. Now at this point, I'm not going to fuss around with it. I'm not going to make sure everything's lined up, because that's what I'll be doing in a few minutes. So, and now I'm going to look at where will these go. Right, to me, that's probably about where they need to be. So I'm going to once again come in, and I'm going to tape these together. Now, I am no florist, guys. I've never had a floristry lesson in my life. I've not been taught how to do this. This is purely just the way I found that works for me with air drying clay. So by all means, if you know a different method, then go ahead, and we would love to see what you actually make of it yourself. So a little bit of the florist tape there. See if my hot glue gun's still hot enough. A little bit more hot glue in there. And I'm just going to lay those down, and once again, just make sure it's fully in contact with the surface below, because you want to make sure that you've got all of that secure. And there you go, that should be hot enough, secure for now. I'm just going to take a little bit more of that green tape, Now this time I'm just going to do 1 or 2 loops. I'm not going to get really hung up with doing lots and lots of layers of hoops of tape on this one, because I know we're coming to the end of this and I'm going to be using the wired rows just to give a bit more stability in here. So as you can see, this is developing nicely. Easy techniques, guys. This is just sprays and a bit of glue and a bit of tape. I'm going to take my last rose. Now my last rose is obviously going to sit between these two. We will fiddle around a little bit with the arrangement when the whole thing is set. Now I don't need this length of wire. This is actually half the length of a floral wire, which is actually 7 inches. So I'm going to take this down to probably about 3 inches, say. Now, because I want to wrap this around here, I'm going to come in and I'm just going to give it a bit of a gentle curve just to start myself off. I'm going to slide this in, put this on there so it's in the right place, then just thread that wire back through on itself. I just want to make sure it's secure. I'm not bothering about the arrangement of the flowers at the moment. Then come in just a little bit at the back, just put a little bit of hot glue on there just so it's secured in place, and give it a second to dry itself off, or cool down and firm, should we say. There you go. Now, if you are wanting to smooth hot glue out while it's still hot, if you dip the end of your finger in a little bit of water, your finger will then be fine just to rub across the surface. But it is hot glue, guys. It's called hot glue for a reason. Please be careful, especially if you're using a high melt glue, because it's going to be pretty powerful and may well burn you. Now at this point, before I go in with the bow, I just want to take a look at a few of the elements to make sure they're all roughly where I want them to be, and they're not far off. Now this is the point at which, if I want to alter anything, I would actually alter it using my little bit of pliers and not my big fat fingers. There you go. I think I just want to put one more bit of glue on the inside of it just to secure that rose where it is, because I like its position now. Now, just while that's cooling off, within the Flower Pro range, there is something called the filler flower mold. It makes 24 plus small flowers, buds and blossoms. This would be a perfect opportunity at this point. You could come in and add some really small elements, maybe some little delicate blossoms. We're keeping it simple, but remember, you can take the same technique and build and build and build and be as ornate as you wish to be. So now that's in place, I'm going to take that bow of mine and I'm going to work out where I want to put it. It's roughly there on this arrangement. I'm just going to hot glue this into place, just because we've used hot glue all the way along. It would be quite difficult for me to wind a ribbon around this and actually hold it in place and tie it perfectly. So I just want to make sure that I've got a nice bit of hot glue on there. Just let it cool down enough. Take the excess off my fingers. There you go, stuck to me. Now is the time, if I want to tweak anything, I can do, but I do quite like that arrangement. The last element for this is, on the one I'm doing, I want to add a word in here. So I need to decide which is the most complementary to the project I'm doing. So this would be in white. That's the word friend. This is the believe, and the believe, as I said, was actually done with the inks. And this is the raw MDF as it comes, and that's the word love. Now, for me personally as a designer, this looks a bit complicated and confusing to the eye because there's nothing standing out. I love the green, but does the green stand out enough? I'm not sure. Maybe I would like a lighter colour, and that leaves my one and only choice is the word friend, and that really pops. Now, if I'm giving this to a friend, I want them to know that that's the important bit. So again, this was the one done with white acrylic paint. I'm just come in, I'm going to see where it contacts, which is behind the F and behind the D. Put a bit of hot glue on both of them. Come across, stick that down, hold it there for a few seconds. Now, if there's one thing I would say about hot glue that you need to be aware of, it's hot glue strings. So every time you take that hot glue gun away, you're going to have these thin filaments of hot glue that are all over the place. Just make sure before you finish the project, just have a little look and see if there are any hot glue strings anywhere. And there's not on this one. I've taken them off as I've gone along, but I'm actually lying to you, there's one as we speak. So that's the finished one. this is it. This is our wall hanging, guys. How beautiful is that? So one more time, this is the Tangled flower hoop, comes in a set of 3. As I said, there is one more which I did turn into this, and with the help of Jack Heath I actually made this beautiful little card. So maybe this says friend, but this is the one that actually goes along with it as a gift for somebody. It's lightweight, but just if I look to the front now, I just wanted to show an example. So if I was using the hanger where the hanger was, if I hold this, you can see it hangs to one side. However, because I've put the weight of the flowers on one side, if I was to hang this on a wall, that's probably where I would hang it, which is just off center. So, hope you enjoyed that. These again were flowers made with hearty soft clay. They were made with the Tangled flower hoops. The products we used were all on the Katy Sue Design website with the exception of the hot glue gun. Everything else is on there for you. So enjoy, guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.